A lot of trick-or-treaters were wearing garbage costumes, maybe some McDonald's costumes, a lot of trends in the past few days. None of them were on our bingo card, were they, though?
I mean, you know, the twists and turns are what they are, but well-timed from the Trump point of view, because both those things lent themselves to lots of memeing and costuming.
You know, so it's not just Cuban's comments, it's Biden's comments. It's also some comments that Bill Clinton has made on the trail. So why are all the surrogates just not helping her, do you think? And what is the reaction from inside the campaign? They're like, what are you doing to us? These are unforced errors, but there's so many.
Yeah. Well, remember, they have a huge asymmetrical advantage, which is the press largely ignores these things. Excuse me.
Bless you. You're working hard. Allergies. I can tell. You're not. Okay, it's allergies. I'm like, you are not allowed to get sick. Get some oregano oil. That's what I use. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, these things, if they happen to a Republican, would be getting a lot more coverage. I do think that these surrogates are straining to try to help her. And in doing that, there may be a little psychology going on, too. But I think mostly they're just trying to help her and in trying to kind of reach for rhetoric that will work. They're occasionally stumbling into the wrong place.
You talk to a lot of voters in, two-way and different places. Which one do you think is the most hurtful for Kamala Harris? Because if she loses, they're going to go back and try to point and do the autopsy of what. But which one do you think really was the one that was maybe the most unrecoverable to the voters?
Garbage said by the president of the United States. And the reality is, and I don't think this point gets made enough. I won't say it definitely true about Joe Biden, but I know from two-way and elsewhere that is the view of a lot of Democrats. It's not a flub or a misstatement or a missing apostrophe. That is the view of, I would say, tens of millions of Democrats who can't understand why anybody supports Donald Trump and has a very grim view of people who do. So part of why it resonates so much with a lot of Americans is they know what their coworkers and their neighbors and unfortunately some of their family members think of them because of their support for Donald Trump. They don't attribute it to the extremes of the left. They don't attribute it to the issues that Donald Trump talks about that have appeal for tens of millions of Americans. They attribute to them being garbage. And so when Joe Biden says it, makes them angry.
And some of them are in legacy media, though, the ones who feel that way about Donald Trump. I mean, he's filed a lawsuit against CBS News, but the tone, even Norah O'Donnell's been called out, the fact-checking and some of the tone. It feels like it's also, when you say there's a lot of folks, it includes some in the media who are covering this race.
Yeah, I remember early in my career at ABC News when I heard people in the network, in news gathering jobs, mock the supporters of Pat Buchanan. I was stunned. And the through line is from Pat Buchanan to Trump supporters. There's plenty to criticize about Donald Trump. There's plenty to take issue with. There's plenty to call out. But this denigration of those who support him, for however they want to characterize them as fascists or as extremists or as garbage or as MAGA, extreme MAGA, however they want to characterize them, doesn't take into account anything but their negative perception. And as you said, that is the view held by a lot of people in the media. And that's why the coverage is the way it is. The coverage is so ridiculously slanted. We're seeing it today with the coverage of what Donald Trump said about Liz Cheney, just completely being taken out of context, completely distorted. Again, you can criticize Donald Trump for things he said about Liz Cheney, but to accuse him of what he's being accused of when he was making the point that if Liz Cheney had to go to war herself, he doesn't think she would be as enthusiastic about sending American forces abroad. That's the point he was making. He wasn't saying someone should kill her.
It's all I heard on Morning Joe. That's right. It was Twitter.
It's all over. It's all over the liberal media. And look, there's some things on cable that are like opinion shows. I'm not saying they get a pass for distorting the truth, but it's a little bit different. Look at the coverage in the Washington Post and New York Times who purport to be objective. And I mean, it's just unfortunate. I'll say again, there's plenty to criticize about Donald Trump.
I have one question.
Not to take stuff out of context.